What is going on, trainers? DrumVillain here, bringing you some more Pokemon Go PvP content, and today we're going to be talking about an Ultra League Premier team. Ultra League Premier being just like the regular Ultra League, XL Pokemon are allowed, but the legendaries are not. And speaking of the legendaries from Ultra League, my Shadow Registeel was absolutely trash. Absolutely terrible. 15 attack, 16 defense and HP, so even less bulk than the Shadow Registeel was expected to get. It's absolutely useless for me to be using in PvP or anything like that, so I'm probably not going to be using Shadow Registeel. I'm not going to use another Super Rocket Radar to get another one because I just think normal Registeel is going to work just fine. So, back to the Ultra League Premier. So like I said, legendary Pokemon are banned, so you're not going to be seeing Cresselia, Orgiritina, Cobalion, Virizion, Registeel, Regirock, a lot of those top meta threats from the legendary bracket, but it does still mean that those XL Pokemon are going to be running rampant. But it does shift the meta slightly. It's not the same Pokemon that we're dominating because a lot of the strongest picks in the open Ultra League in general are there to counter those legendary types. So the meta does shift quite heavily and in an interesting way, so I do think it's worth showcasing at least a team for you guys to give a try if you fancy it for this league. Also, I do just want to say a quick thank you to everyone that showed love and support on the last video when we hit Legend rank in the Great League. If you're one of the newer subscribers, welcome to the channel. Thank you for choosing to stick around and check out more content. If you're one of the 88% of viewers that haven't clicked the subscribe button yet, go ahead, hit it, support the channel, it helps me out massively, and let's go ahead and look at today's team. Now I wanted to try something a little bit different this time around, that's why we've gone for a double Shadow team as well as double Charizard counter, but not both of them in the back. We're putting one on the lead and one in the back, and I think this team functions more as an ABC line than anything else, maybe a bit of an ABA, but it really does depend on which matchups you're looking at to really determine that. So on the lead we're bringing Shadow Politoed, and this is quite an expensive build because if you've got PvP IVs, this is going to be quite a big XL Pokemon to build, but it's a lot of fun to use. It's super spammy with the weather balls. We're going to be running Legacy move Earthquake on it as well to help deal with some steel types that we might run into. You can run Blizzard as well, but maybe with this team I wouldn't fully recommend it. You want the ground coverage to hit other water types a little bit more effectively and those steel types. In the back we're bringing Powder Snow, Alola, and Ninetales, which as we all probably know at this point in the Ultra League, it's a very strong pick. Powder Snow is very spammy, again with the weather ball combination of the Dazzling Gleam's an absolute nuke that'll absolutely annihilate Obstagoons, Scrafties and any other fighters running around. And then we're rounding out the team with Shadow Ampharos, which I think is probably the spiciest thing on the team, but honestly people aren't building to deal with electric in the Ultra League. So many people are running Walrein and Charizard on their teams currently right now, and Ampharos just has an absolute field day with those lines. We're running Thunder Punch rather than the recommended Volt Switch, and that's just because I like the spamminess combined with the spamminess of the weather balls on the other two as well. It can really put a lot of pressure on opponents and really force your way through, and also the new move that it recently got access to, Brutal Swing, for that coverage as well. Alright, jumping into the first matchup, and we've got our Shadow Politoed lined up with Silph, which isn't too bad of a matchup except that Leaf Blade, it's going to smash you to pieces. So we're going to throw 5 Mud Shots, which is 1 past the Weather Ball, and then swap to Ninetales to try and catch a Leaf Blade, because we're assuming they'll have a reasonably decent counter to Ninetales in the back, which we're going to just kind of expend, let it go, and then hopefully with that extra fast charge move momentum we've got on Politoed, we'll be able to sweep later on in the game and put more pressure on the Silph. So we CMP tie here. We're assuming it's a Blast Burn because Charizards can't really go for the Dragon Claw here because it's such a risky bait. If you no shield a Dragon Claw and it does double resisted, it just bounces off of Ninetales. So they're almost surely going to go for the Blast Burn. We wanted to get a shield out of them. We kind of want to get these shields used up so that we can put much more pressure on that Silph again. We're going to let this go. It is the Blast Burn, that's fine. We're going to farm down with Ampharos because we should be able to before they get to a scarier charge move, which is absolutely fine. 2 Volt Switches takes it out because Shadow Volt Switches hit Charizard like absolute trucks. Silph is here. We're going to throw the Thunder Punch. Going to do big damage, and I think at this point we're just going to choose to farm down entirely, and we're going to choose to shut this up because the fact they've brought Silph in here and not saved it for the Politoed implies they might be a little bit weak to Ampharos in the back, and it turns out it's a Dragonite, which isn't strictly weak to Ampharos, but also these neutral Volt Switches and neutral Thunder Punches are going to do big damage. We're able to get to the second one here, which is going to do, it's not going to take them out, but it's going to get them low enough, and then we're going to be able to snipe them down with the Politoed, with that Weather Ball we've already got loaded since the start of the game. This is fantastic now because we've got enough health left here to survive what the Silph might throw at us, to Mud Shot them down, and we're going to take the first win there. It's going to be a GG. One of the main things you have to be concerned about with this team is the ground types in the back. If you get Nidoqueen in the back and Politoed's already knocked out, or you get Galarian Stunfisk, you're going to be in a very tough spot. But other than that, they're not particularly popular currently in the Ultra League Premier, from what I'm seeing at least, so they're not that much of a threat, and if you do safe swap either Ninetales or Ampharos, you should be baiting them out anyway. Matchup 2, Dragonite lead, and we're going to safe swap Ampharos because Ninetales is the much harder answer to Dragonite. More often than not, I find Ninetales is going to be the safe swap with this team, but because it's a Dragonite and Ninetales absolutely shuts that down, we're going to safe swap the Ampharos, and we put an Escavalier, which isn't a bad situation, and it's worth us giving up both shields here to take switch advantage. We've got a ton of energy here, which means we can probably get at least one of those shields back. If this was a Zap Cannon, for example, they'd have to shield because it would absolutely obliterate Dragonite. They don't. We've got a second one, which is either going to knock out the Dragonite or is going to get that first shield. They choose to give us the first shield, which is absolutely fine for us. We don't mind that we've gone down 2 shields here because Ninetales can take whatever that Dragonite's going to be throwing at us at this point. And now they've got Empoleon against our Politoed, which this is why you want Earthquake. But also, this is a tough spot because Empoleon's going to have 1 shield to get past an Earthquake, which we go straight for the big move because we just want to get that damage off. And they're going to get to 2 Drill Pecks here, which might just take us out. First Drill Peck comes through, they throw the other one straight away. This is going to be super, super close. We've just got the energy now for the Earthquake. Do we survive? We do. 1 HP and a dream. Super clutch from Shadow Politoed there. The Earthquake's going to take out the Empoleon, and then Ninetales is just going to be able to fast move down this Dragonite, no problem whatsoever. I think, unless this is a Hurricane, which it has got nowhere near the energy for that, there's nothing we have to worry about. The Superpower comes through, doesn't even do half. Ninetales fast moves down, and it's a good game. If you're looking for substitutions for this team, you can probably run Swampert instead of Politoed, you can run Abomasnow or Walrein instead of Alolan Ninetales, and you can run Galvantula instead of Ampharos. And speaking of, here's one on the lead, absolute nightmare lead for us, which if we were running Swampert, this would be a much more comfortable position, but because it's Politoed, we're taking super effective damage from those Volt Switches. It's going to be very, very threatening to us. We're going to swap to the Ampharos, hopefully trying to catch a charge move, which we don't do successfully, and now this Galvantula is absolutely loaded to the 9s. They win CMP priority, so we're going to be throwing after they do. We're not going to shield because they can't one-shot us, and we're already bringing Ampharos into this negative situation, so we don't want to spend a shield on it when we're not going to be able to control switch advantage anyway, or at least we're not expecting to be able to control it. We're going to bring in Alolan Ninetales, Powder Snow Alolan Ninetales, so this opponent's going for a similar tactic of pairing an electric type with that ice damage from the Ninetales, and they're going to be able to farm us down perfectly, which is really rough for us. Bringing the Politoed, we're expecting the Dazzling Gleam, so we're going to choose to shield up, and they bait us with the Weather Ball, which is kind of crazy considering that they know that we've got Politoed lined up with Galvantula anyway, so I feel like it was an obvious no shield for me at that point, and I was trying to play 5D chess and got baited, which is going to cost us pretty heavily at this point. We're going to have to throw a double Weather Ball here to take out the Ninetales, and we're just going to hope that they're super weak to our Alolan Ninetales in the back, which is not particularly likely, I don't think, with this team composition. This was actually the first game I played with this team. This was the first game of the set that I played, and it's still running Charm. I'd not TM'd it over to Powder Snow, which I do recommend you have Powder Snow on this team in particular. They've got Jellicent in the back, which actually works in our favour, having Charm rather than Powder Snow. We're going to try and bait them with a Weather Ball, which does not go... Oh, we do get the shield, that's fine. But it's not going to matter. They can just Shadow Ball us and take us out, and it's going to be a good game to the opponent here. Galvantula on the lead is really tough for Politoed, and unless you can control switch advantage, you just can't get away from it. I do, in hindsight, really recommend Swampert over Politoed for this team. It's very, very similar coverage, but Swampert has more resistances, which really work in its favour. Like things like this, like the Drapion matchup, is much more in Swampert's favour than Politoed's. Like the electric types, Politoed's got to be scared of. And like, if you come across grass types, Politoed and Swampert have to be terrified anyway, so that's a bad situation no matter what. It's technically worse for Swampert, but also it's still so punishing that it's a terrible situation no matter what. So you might as well just have the Swampert rather than the Politoed. I think the Politoed has slightly more bulk, which is its only real advantage. But I wanted to try something spicy and a bit different, and Politoed can still hold its own and actually slightly outpaces Swampert because it's 4 mud shots to the Weather Ball every time, whereas for Swampert to the Hydro Cannon it's 5-4, 5-4. So it's about preference and what you've got to hand and what you've got ready to use, which I know for a lot of players is more likely to be Swampert, and I do recommend it if you do have it on hand. This opponent's going to be seriously hankering for switch advantage. They're going to give up 2 shields, so we're going to just choose to let them have switch advantage, bring in Ampharos, farm down this Drapion, and just see what we can do with a shield advantage in the back. And it turns out they're super weak to Ampharos in the back because they've got the Trevenant there, which is weak to the Brutal Swing. They've got Charizard that's weak to the electric moves. And even though they're able to catch a Brutal Swing on Charizard, which is a really good catch from the opponent, really well read there, it's not going to be enough because then the Thunder Punch will take them out, and then we've just got a lower Ninetales to jump to a Weather Ball as fast as possible and take them out. Well, it won't quite take them out, but we can fast move them down. A Shadow Ball won't take us out at this range, so we don't even have to shield, technically, so we are going to choose to no shield. They try and bait us with a Seed Bomb, which absolutely seals the deal anyway. We can fast move down, and it's a good game. In a neutral energy scenario, Trevenant does do well against Ampharos because those Shadow Claws add up, the Seed Bombs add up, and they are resisting the Volt Switches. But when you've got an energy advantage like we did there, we had a pretty serious energy advantage. Trevenant does have to be scared of those Brutal Swings because 2 will take it out. Alright, matchup 5, and we've got a Pidgeot on the lead, and we're going to swap straight out to Ninetales just because we've got 2 counters to Pidgeot in the back. Both Ampharos and Ninetales with Powder Snow do very well against Pidgeot, so we wanted to swap straight away and see what we can bait out of the back. They choose to build up energy and throw a move, which we're expecting it to be Brave Bird since we're expecting them to dip, which they do, but it's the Feather Dance, which nerfs our attack and puts us in a bit of a sketchy position here against his Shadow Machamp. We're going to throw 1 Powder Snow early because we wanted to throw before they got to the Rock Slide, and if that's one of those situations where if the opponent knew the counts, they could have very comfortably no-shielded that, but because they didn't, we managed to get a shield out of them, which is very nice for us. We're going to throw a Cross Chop, doesn't quite take us out because they wanted to conserve some energy, means we can get a second Weather Ball off and get them a little bit lower. They do farm us down, and we're just going to bring in Politoed here and spend it because we want to save health on Ampharos. We've got a good feeling that Ampharos is going to do well against both things in the back on this team. We know the Pidgeot's not going to struggle quite heavily, with Ampharos, but we've got a good feeling about whatever else is going to be in the back as well. We take out the Machamp, Pidgeot comes in, we swap into Ampharos, and there's the Surfetched in the back, which this is a pretty neutral matchup, but again, the second Ampharos has an energy lead in a lot of these matchups, it really flips in its favour. We're going to be able to just farm them down entirely here. We can shield this up, I believe. Yeah, we're going to shield up, it's the Night Slash. That's fine. And then these next 2 Volt Switch will take them out. We've got a Thunder Punch loaded. The Pidgeot doesn't have energy for a move straight away to take us out, so they're just going to surrender there, and it's going to be a good game. And that's going to give us a 4-1 setup at the 2900 ELO range, which is absolutely no joke at all. This team can definitely hold its own amongst the top meta lines in the Ultra Premier Cup for sure. And like I said, Ampharos is such a good core breaker because so many people are running Charizard and Walrein on the same line. Do not sleep on the electric types in this meta, I swear. But let me know what you guys think of the team down below. Are there any interesting spicy picks in the Ultra Premier that you're using that's working out surprisingly well for you? I'd love to hear about them. Subscribe to know when I upload new videos with new teams, and I will catch all of you absolute legends next time.